Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel, and I've got a feeling that some of the new guitar companies are actually setting the bar too high. And don't worry, I'm going to explain what I mean by that, but I'm also going to show you a couple of really cool guitars in this video. So let's go ahead and start with that first. Feast your eyes on this beauty right here. One of the latest creations from Firefly guitars. Now this is called the Mad Cat, and Firefly did not invent this guitar. Many companies have made guitar like this over the years, and the history of this guitar, or this style of guitar, actually goes back to the 1970s. Now you're thinking, hey, it's a Tele, it must have been made by Fender, right? Well, actually, no. Although this does use the Tele body style, this was never a Fender guitar. This was actually originally made by Horner way back in the 70s. These guitars were made in Japan. They only made about 500 of the original ones. And as the years went by, this guitar really got closely associated with Prince because he used the guitar on some of his most iconic albums like Purple Rain in 1999. And so if you Google pictures of Prince playing guitar, there's a very good chance that you'll see him playing one of these Mad Cat guitars. At this point, lots of different companies have made their own version of the Mad Cat type guitar, like Eastwood and even Court at one point. And this one here, obviously, is Firefly's version of it. It's pretty true to the original. It's got a few, slight deviations to the original design, and it's a Firefly guitar, so it's priced at right around $200. Now the styling of this guitar is very unique with the two separate pick guards, kind of this like leopard print pattern, and then it also has this kind of matching pearloid binding on the front and the back of the body. Also, the way the body is done, it's mahogany on the inside, and then it's got maple veneers on the front and the back with that binding, and the stain on the bodywood, the internal bodywood, is slightly different than it is on the front and the back. And so you get this really cool layered sort of look to it. Now the other big deal is with the pickup arrangement and to some extent the bridge. So the bridge, rather than the traditional Tele style bridge, the bridge is 6 individual saddles, kind of like a Strat. And then with the pickups, it's also kind of borrowing from the Strat a little bit. It's like a traditional Strat without the middle pickup. So you've got a single coil in the bridge position, that separated pick guard, and then a single coil in the neck position, no middle pickup. And one of the ways this guitar differs from the original 70s Mad Cat models is that, with the toggle switch, I should say, the selector switch, this has a 3-way toggle switch. So you've got bridge, both together, and the neck. The original guitar had a weird kind of 4-way switch where you could get pickups like in and out of phase and some kind of crazy stuff like that. So this switch doesn't function exactly the same as the original does, but it's kind of more traditional in some ways and a little bit more accessible, easier to use, and so forth. And aside from that, we got a single volume and a single tone. Now, one more way that this differs, this being a modern Firefly guitar, it's got the rounded ball end stainless steel frets, arguably better than what you would have gotten back in the 70s. The rest of the guitar is pretty standard maple neck. It's got the truss rod adjustment up here, so it's got the skunk stripe on the back, 21 frets on this, and it's a nice full thickness body here. It is, let's see here, it's almost exactly, it's exactly 2 inches. And weight-wise, it's a little bit on the heavy side. Let's go ahead. I always like to use my luggage scale for this. So we've got, this is, I don't know if you can see that, 8.2 pounds. Yes, I know I'm hanging it by a tuner. Don't worry, it can take it. Anyway, one thing about this guitar that is kind of very old school and different than a lot of modern Tele style guitars is this body is completely flat on the top and the back. So you don't have an armrest, you don't have a belly cut, anything like that. Now part of that is because of the construction, because it's got the veneers front and back and the binding, especially with the binding, that makes it really difficult to have those curves on there. But if you're looking for something that's honestly a little bit more comfortable to play, or if you really like those, like the belly cut especially, this doesn't have it, but plenty of the other Firefly guitars do. And that's something I wanted to point out here, because here is another Firefly guitar. This is one of these, the Galaxy Sparkle finish. And something that's just really, really wild that's going on these days is that I think there's an argument to be made that Firefly has been setting the bar so high, and people get used to new things so quickly, that they're actually starting to sort of compete with themselves in a really weird way. And let me tell you why. So both of these guitars are about the same price. This one has the cool, unique styling. They both have the great rounded ball and stainless steel frets, but this one has like brass saddles. This has a roasted maple neck. This has locking tuners, okay? And it's got all these cool belly cuts and, you know, contours and all this stuff. And it has the truss rod adjustment in the neck pocket, which, at least in my opinion, is definitely a superior design. They're both about the same price, so people start to look at this stuff and be like, well, hey, this one doesn't have locking tuners. This one doesn't have the roasted maple neck. This is not as good of a deal. But guys, come on, you're only paying like $200 for either one of these guitars. But honestly, I think we're getting to the point where people are getting so accustomed to these features which you used to only be able to find on guitars that cost over $1,000. Now you can get this stuff for like under $300, sometimes even under $200. The expectations have gotten so high. People get pickier and pickier and pickier as we get more and more accustomed to these high-end features. So I start to wonder, and this is what I want to ask you guys about, are you more hesitant to buy a guitar, even if it's at a really good price, if it doesn't have all of the cool features that you're used to? If you see a guitar and it's, let's say, $300, and maybe you like the style, it looks really cool, but it doesn't have a roasted maple neck, it doesn't have the stainless steel frets, it doesn't have the locking tuners, all those cool features, are you going to be like, well, no, I'm so used to having that stuff, I'm not going to buy this guitar, even though it's a really good deal? What do you guys think about that? Let me know down in the comments section below. I'm genuinely curious about it. Now, there's a couple other guitars and actually companies that I want to talk about just with a similar idea to that, but I'll talk about those later in the video. So let's go ahead and get into the demo so you can hear some more of how this guitar sounds. Now, for the demo, I'm going to use my Boss IR200 cabin amp simulator. It's really affordable, it sounds great, and all the sound I'm getting in the video, with one exception, comes from that unit. So you know there's no weird studio trickery or magic or anything like that added after the fact to make the guitar sound better than it actually does. And the exception is I'm also going to use my Dunlop 535Q wah pedal, because I want to get some nice, slightly funky tones out of this guitar here. Okay, let's go ahead and plug this in, but real quick, guys, if you enjoy videos like this, checking out cool, new, affordable guitars, and you have not already subscribed for some reason, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, let's plug this in and listen to how it sounds. Okay guys, so a couple quick things about this guitar, and then there's some other stuff I want to talk about. But sound-wise, this guitar is, I don't want to say it's like a one-trick pony, because it does have some variety in it. I mean, you got a couple pickups to choose from. The pickups are really spread apart, so the two pickups have very different sounds between them, and of course you have the tone control. So I think this guitar really excels at that sort of funk, like jazz fusion, you know, that style, right? But if we're being honest, it's not the most versatile guitar. Then again, the looks are not super versatile either. When people see this, I think most of them are thinking, yeah, that's a funk guitar. That's a guitar that Prince would play. So all that being said, the sounds that it does have are excellent. I mean, it's very good at what it does. It's just not a super versatile guitar in terms of the tone. Playability is fantastic. I did make one truss rod adjustment to the guitar after I got it out of the box. That was the only setup changes I made to it. These are even the stock strings. I didn't touch the saddles at all. So out of the box, it played great. Really, any guitar with these rounded ball fret ends, they just feel super smooth. You know, they're finished very nicely, polished, all that stuff. So it's easy, easy, easy to play. I think it would be cool if they did a version of this guitar with a satin finish, like maybe on the whole guitar, but at the very least, maybe on the back of the neck. That would be cool, because it's a thick gloss finish, right? I always prefer a satin finish, at least on the back of a neck. A good example, actually, is the other, the Galaxy Sparkle Firefly that I have here. It's got gloss on the body and then a satin finish on the neck. I think, to me, this feels... The neck feels slightly thinner on this one also, although that could simply be that the finish is not as thick. And that's, you know, again, guys, that's not to say that this guitar is hard to play. It's very, very easy to play. But I'm always trying to think of, you know, what little tweaks or improvements could be made to these guitars. Fit and finish on this is excellent. I mean, I cannot find any blemishes. There's a lot of little details that sometimes on less expensive guitars kind of give it away, that, you know, things that I don't see here, like the pick guards are cut, you know, the cuts, the edges are super, super clean. The binding looks great. I don't see any weird slips on the binding or anything like that. Now, a few other examples here. Let me set this one down. But I also have another Tele style guitar that's out there and kind of popular these days, is this Eert here. I believe this is the Eert T380. I've talked about this guitar, also Robert Jackson over at the channel, formerly known as Robert's Guitar Dungeon. He's talked about these guitars. These are just, you know, they're awesome guitars. The same stainless steel rounded ball frets are on these guitars, also with a satin finish. This one has humbuckers and coil splitting, very cool. Now this one is more expensive. This is more expensive than really the Firefly model. So you are going to have to pay more to get this guitar. But this is just another example, I think, of a company that is maybe, I mean, how can I say this? But I mean, setting the bar a little too high, you know, because they'll make this guitar, and then, which is amazing, and then right in the same price range, they'll make a similar guitar that is maybe like, you know, slightly less in terms of specs. You don't quite get as much for your money. And then people look at that, and even though a couple or 5 years ago, that guitar would be an insanely good deal compared to the amazing stuff that they're releasing now, it's like, well, it's not quite as good. and so people hesitate to buy it. I honestly feel like we have forgotten just how bad cheap guitars used to be just a few years ago. The stuff we have now blows away guitars from 5 or 10 years ago. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You know, like a $1,000 or even in some cases $2,000 guitar from like 20 years ago, a $300 to $500 guitar today, I think is as good as, or maybe even better than what that old stuff used to be. Now, another obvious company that comes to mind when we talk about this stuff is going to be Harley-Benton, right? You know, you look at like their Fusion series guitars, and you look at the price point and the specs that those guitars have. They're kind of, you know, because they've delivered that price point and that spec sheet for a few years now, and they continue to do that, I feel like that company is really under pressure. Like they have to keep delivering these super high value guitars. And if they don't do that, then people are going to look at them and be like, oh man, Harley-Benton, they've gone off the rails, man. They've failed. They've gone back on what they were going to do or something. Our expectations have gotten so high for these new companies, right? It's just bizarre. The other thing that goes along with that is we don't have the same expectation for the older, like established companies. If you get a Squier, you know, if you get a $200 Firefly and a $200 Squier, well, the Squier is going to be worse, but somehow we forgive that. I don't know why. I guess it's just because that the reputation for quality has been established from 20 years ago, and we're just used to that and used to that price point. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for letting me rant about this stuff. I want to know what you think about all of this. Let me know down in the comments section below. And also, what do you think of the new Mad Cat guitar? What do you think of Prince? Do you think Prince would play the Firefly version? That's a test I wish we could do. I wish we could do one of those, hey, we secretly switched Prince's guitar. Let's see if he noticed. Maybe someday we can build a time machine and do that experiment. For now, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to put links for everything I was talking about down in the video description below. I will also have links for my new instructional program, my social media, all that stuff down there. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.